So would you please share, I know I'm familiar with them, but would you share with our audience a couple of the things to look for in the early stages? So you say, hi, how are you? And what would be an early clue that probably, because here's the thing, Dr. Dan, I believe whilst people don't ever want an abusive relationship, if that's what they've known and they equate it with love or they equate it with them being acceptable, then I know I am programmed to seek out certain kind of people. They make me feel a certain way. They bring out aspects of me I want to have brought out. I'm very comfortable with it. I know that's a lot of it is my conditioning and is way beyond any conscious thought that I have. I think to have an abusive relationship, possibly those early signs would be a warning sign to one person, because that's not love, because I have a healthy relationship with love. To another, that's not a warning sign.
I wish it were only women who came from backgrounds of abuse who were vulnerable. I would still help them, but it would be a much smaller percentage. Unfortunately,
Yes.
the way women are socialized, we're all vulnerable. Because if you look at any chick flick, you look at the popular TV shows for women, they are all emphasizing, reinforcing, and promoting attitudes and behaviors that make us vulnerable to abusers.
Great.
So one of the things I would say to look out for. So first of all, number one, accept the fact that you are vulnerable. It's just like when I talked about social psychology and I said the first thing they taught us was that knowledge of a phenomenon does not make you immune to its effects. So the professor said it doesn't matter how advanced you go in social psychology, if you are exposed to the influence mechanisms, to influential information, if you put yourself in a situation where you're surrounded by this influential material, you will be influenced just like someone who didn't know anything.
Got it. Yeah.
It's saturation and exposure. So understand that you are vulnerable, that your children are vulnerable, because so many women think, I don't come from a family with abuse, so I'm not vulnerable. I've never had an abusive relationship and I'm in my 30s. I'm not vulnerable. All of us are vulnerable. And you add in really bad cultural norms around sexuality and relationships, that increases our vulnerability. So the next thing you look for is too much too soon.
Yes.
One of the things about abusers is that they find the initial stages of a relationship extremely painful. They are only comfortable when they have total control over their partner. So in those initial stages, when she still has some autonomy, still has personal agency, still may potentially walk away from them, they find that extremely uncomfortable. So they move fast. Now, all the stuff they do is not bad. I think one of the biggest issues, biggest shortfalls in the information about domestic violence is that whenever I would pick up a brochure or a pamphlet, it would always have all these negative behaviors. And they would use the word too a lot. Look out for a guy who's too jealous, too possessive, too controlling, but they never told you how much is too much, okay? And they made it seem like abuse is all about pain. It's not. It's also about pleasure.
Yeah.
Clever abusers know how to make their prey, their target, feel good. So when I talk about the tactics, I talk about things like love bombing, where you meet him and he tells you, you are just the best thing ever, that he's never felt like this before, that you're just the most clever, beautiful, wonderful woman, that he can imagine having children with you. So look out for that.
This has got to be, some viewers are going to be going, really? But that's what I thought I wanted to hear. Because when I read that in your book the first time and I listened to your podcast, I was like, there are a lot of women, particularly because I know more women, who would think hearing that level of attention being placed on us is going to fire up dopamine throughout our entire system, surely.
Until I train you.
Yes.
Train you, because my training, I call it your superpower. Once you have your superpower in place, that will make you wary. Because someone telling you you're the best thing ever and they don't know you
Yeah.
is playing you. And
Yes.
your superpower says, first of all, you will not play with me. You will not manipulate me. A really good guy, I even teach the difference between an abuser and a good guy. An abuser does this, and a good guy does this. And we're talking about the positive stuff.
Yes.
So a guy who really likes you, some of the stuff that these guys do, he would be too nervous to do it. He wouldn't be offering you trips and talk about how gorgeous your children would be because he'd be too afraid you'd say no. He'd be a little tentative. He'd really like you, but he wouldn't start making plans for your future together because he doesn't know whether you'd agree. And he's afraid of rejection. There's a huge difference between a genuinely decent guy and an abuser, and I will teach you that too. I want everybody to be happy in a mutually respectful relationship where you both cherish each other.